This is how I came to love my vagina. It's embarrassing because it's not politically correct. I mean, I know it should have happened in a bath with salt grains from the Dead Sea, Enya playing, me loving my woman self. I know the story. Vaginas are beautiful. Our self-hatred is just the internalized repression and hatred of a patriarchal culture. It isn't real. Pussies unite. I know all of it. Like, if we'd grown up in a culture where we were taught that fat thighs are beautiful, we'd all be pounding down milkshakes and Krispy Kremes, lying on our backs, spending our days thigh expanding. But we didn't grow up in that culture. I hated my thighs, and I hated my vagina even more. I thought it was incredibly ugly. I was one of those women who had looked at it, and from that moment on, wished I hadn't. It made me sick. I pitied anyone who had to go down there. In order to survive, I began to imagine something else between my legs. I imagined furniture, cozy futons with light cotton comforters, little velvet settees, leopard rugs, or pretty things like silk handkerchiefs, quilted pot holders, or place settings. I got so accustomed to this that I lost all memory of having a vagina. Whenever a man was inside of me, I pictured him inside of a mink-lined muffler or a Chinese bowl. Then I met Bob. Oh, Bob was the most ordinary man I have ever met. He was tall and thin and nondescript. He wore khaki tan clothes. Bob didn't like spicy food or listen to Prince. He had no interest in sexy lingerie. In the summer, he spent his time in the shade. He didn't have any problems or issues and wasn't even an alcoholic. He wasn't very funny or articulate or mysterious. He wasn't mean or unavailable. He didn't drive fast. I didn't particularly like Bob. To be honest, I would have missed him altogether if he hadn't picked up my change that I dropped on the deli floor. When he handed me back my quarters and pennies in his hand, accidentally touched mine. Something happened. I went to bed with him. But that's when the miracle occurred. It turned out Bob loved vaginas. He was a connoisseur. He loved the way they smelled, the way they felt, the way they tasted, but most importantly, he loved the way they looked. He had to look at them. The first time we had sex, he told me he had to see me. I'm right here, I said. No, you, I need to see you, he said. Turn on the light, I said, thinking he was a weirdo and freaking out in the dark. He turned on the light. Okay, I'm ready to see you. Right here? I'm right here, Bob. Then he began to undress me. What are you doing, Bob? I need to see you, he said. No need, I said, just do it. I need to see what you look like, he said. But you've seen a red leather couch before, I said. Bob continued. He would not stop. I wanted to throw up and die. This is awfully intimate, Bob, I said. Can't you just do it? No, it's who you are. I need to see, he said. I held my breath. He looked and looked and looked. He got breathy and his face changed. He didn't look ordinary anymore. He looked like a hungry beast. You're so beautiful, he said. You're elegant and deep and innocent and wild. Saw that there? I said. It was like he'd read my palm. I saw that, he said, and more, much, much more. I stayed looking for almost an hour. Like he was reading a map, observing the moon, staring into my eyes. It was my vagina! In the light, I watched him looking at me, and he was so genuinely excited, so peaceful and serene. I began to get wet and turned on. I began to see myself the way Bob saw me. I began to feel beautiful and delicious, like a great painting or a waterfall. Bob wasn't afraid. He wasn't grossed out. I began to swell, began to feel proud, began to love my vagina. And Bob lost himself there. And I was there with him, in my vagina. And we were gone.